droplet of water. So on this one, we're going to demonstrate the endospore stain. Endospore stain has a lot of similarities to the acid fast. Now, with this, you likewise have to steam your primary stain into your organism. One thing to always make note of, when we look at the growth for our spore formers, they tend to grow very, very thick. So minimize the amount of bacteria you get on your loop. Be very careful of that. Too much bacteria is almost in a lot of ways worse than not enough bacteria. So we go in. We pull off just a teeny tiny little bit. All right, put it back. And then likewise, get a nice spread going over the entire slide. Leave room for your thumb because you want to leave room for your thumb or a clothespin. And now we simply let it dry. Now for the endospore stain, you can heat fix or not. I've never really noticed any difference between heat fixing or not. I would actually recommend heat fixing because oftentimes you'll rinse a lot of the bacteria off if you don't. So here we have a dried slide of one of our spore forming organisms. We go 1, 2, 3 times. All right. Now we're going to take our small container of boiling water with the rack above it. We place our organism right here on the rack. And for here, rather than using carbofuscin, we use malachite green. Malachite green, very water soluble and very thin, so be careful when you use this. It tends to get everywhere. But as we add this, the whole concept here is we need to heat the bacteria up some. In heating the bacteria up, you loosen up the outer coats on the spore and allow the malachite green to get into the spore. And now we want to sit here and let this boil for a good 5 minutes, maybe even more. Depending on how thick your spear is, 5 to 10 minutes is generally a requirement. But usually, realistically here, anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes. You really don't want to go much lighter than that. You don't want 5 minutes. You're not going to allow enough malachite green to soak into the slide. So as we do that, we take a piece of paper towel, put it onto the top of our slide, and add more malachite green. And likewise, do not let this dry. So as we sit here and we let this boil for 5 minutes, we just wait. So after 7 to 10 minutes of waiting, we once again remove our paper towel, put it over another piece of paper towel just to catch any drips. Pull your slide off, and you're going to put it here on your center rack. And now what you want to do, don't do anything to the slide immediately. Let the slide sit for approximately 3 to 5 minutes and cool down, because you want to trap the malachite green into the spore. You heated it up, you allowed the malachite green in as the spore got less dense. Now as it cools down, it will lock the green into the spore. So let the slide cool down a little bit. All right. Now once we've allowed the malachite green to cool off enough that the slide is basically now cooled to the touch, there is no decolorization for your spore stain. You can go with quenching, but notice what we get with quenching. The malachite green is a very strong stain and leaves a lot of color behind. So what I will often do is I will directly use the tap water, and I will run this under the tap water and get it really nice and clear. Okay, make sure you rinse the top as well as the bottom of the slide. Again, another problem that happens with malachite green is it will accumulate on the rack, underneath on the metal wires of the rack, and it will start to stick to the bottom of the slide. And as it starts to stick to the bottom of the slide, it makes it much more difficult to get a really good look at your bacteria. So make sure you rinse the bottom off just as well as you rinse the top off. Once you've done that, we follow up with some Safranin. Now keep in mind, this is the staining technique where if you've done this successfully, you should see two very different colors. You should see the red mother cell along with green spores. And that is how you identify the endospore stain. So once we're done with this, another 60 seconds worth of safranin. We rinse it off again, dry it out using our paper towel and pat dry, and then we're good to view it. Then about 60 seconds, and again, we rinse off the top, we rinse off the bottom. Make sure you know which side is the top and which side is the bottom, guys. Back on the rack, we get a small piece of paper towel to dry off, and now you're good. You have a completed endospore stain. And now you can put it under oil